Hello there folks, it's Aaron here with another video review, this time for Saints Row, the vibrant open world reboot of the long running series. Now this review was originally orchestrated by the brilliant Robert Ramsey over on the Push Square website, but it's been adapted here into a video by me. Believe it or not, it's actually been 9 whole years since Saints Row 4, and to be honest, not much has changed since, except for the superpowers and the alien invaders and all of that kind of stuff. But in this simply titled Saints Row reboot, we have a new setting, new characters, and a brand new story. So let's break down how it all shapes up in our Saints Row review. At its core, Saints Row is a third-person shooter in a sandbox setting, but the design of its open world feels straight out of the PS3 era. You'll spend a long time just staring at a map with increasing amounts of icons to the point that eventually they even get their own tab. Here in 2022, it's overkill to a level that would even make Ubisoft blush. Yet despite that, its consistently over-the-top gameplay and downright stupidity mean that Saints Row just about manages to get away with its brazen content padding. With that, Saints Row continues to be at its best when utter chaos unfolds, whether it's during a particularly explosive main mission or you're just trying to survive against a dozen SWAT teams. There's nothing quite like it in terms of tone. It's dumb jokes and ultra violence from start to finish, like a cartoon version of Grand Theft Auto. Kicking off with a robust character creator, you're free to make any kind of murderous anti-hero and free to change up their appearance at any time. In typical franchise fashion, your boss is bigged up to be a born killer who will punch, kick, stab, shoot and explode their way up to the top as they establish their new gang, the Saints. This time your journey to the top is accompanied by your 3 best buddies, the numbers guy Eli, the dangerous driver Nina, and the shirtless muscle Kevin. Surprisingly, despite the game's eccentricness, these characters are relatively grounded, but it doesn't quite have the intended effect as they can sometimes come across as boring. The more serious streak does come at odds with the rampant murder and the unapologetically daft plotlines, but in a way they do allow your character to stand out. Story-wise, there are actually some great moments sprinkled throughout, but it all felt like it was going a tad too fast. The main missions themselves make up just around a third of the game's 25-ish hour campaign, and as a result, it struggles to properly document the Saints' rise to power. Most of the key plot points drop without much warning, and you're quickly ushered from one narrative beat to the next via snappy cutscenes. Ultimately it works, but there was definitely room for elaboration on this rags to riches story. However, our hunger for the story missions is quite telling of the game's wavering quality of side activities. This is the most feature-rich Saints game paired with its biggest map to date, but a lot of the activities just feel like busy work. Returning excursions like insurance fraud, where you throw yourself into oncoming traffic for money, are still fun, but they completely overshadow jobs where you're tasked with driving toxic, waste-bearing trucks very slowly, or choplifter missions in which you ferry containers between positions. And yeah, they are about as boring as they sound. That wouldn't be so bad if it was just a mission here or there, but as we said, the game is covered in icons for content just like this. Sure, you don't have to do them, but criminal ventures, as the game calls them, are by far your biggest source of income, and you need that money not just to build your empire, but also unlock story missions. And to be clear, business management within the game boils down to what front goes where. Thankfully though, all of this busy work is made somewhat bearable through the game's punchy, gun-based combat and arcadey driving mechanics. It just feels good to play with a Doom-like system where you gain health from finishers, giving each battle an enjoyable flow. As you level up, you gain access to various special abilities that can turn the tide of tricky encounters. In just about every way, this is a welcome addition to the Saints Row gameplay formula, and as a lovely bonus, there are actually loads of accessibility options which exist alongside your standard difficulty settings. You can tweak incoming damage, the severity of time limits, auto-aim, and even entirely remap controller inputs. And you know what else is worth mentioning? Co-op, because it's especially well implemented here. You can team up with another player online and play through the entire game together, and that includes main missions as well. As you'd expect, having another human to clown around with gives Saints Row an added edge to its comedy, despite the bouts of co-op specific bugginess that we experienced. And a nice touch is that any progression you make with a friend carries back to your single player and vice versa, which can help alleviate that grind of ticking off tedious side jobs. While yes, co-op does feel like a step forward, graphically, Saints Row has remained firmly in place. It's not ugly by any means, and when the sun catches you right, it can even look really nice, but when you look at the nitty-gritty details and NPC character models, it leaves a lot to be desired. But then, on the flip side, Saints Row has never been a big graphical and technically advanced series, so there is a level of artistic choice here. There are some graphical options to play around with here as well, and we found that the 1440p targeted 60 FPS was the sweet spot, as the 1080p at locked 60 looked a bit muddy, and as an action heavy game, the 4K 30 just wasn't worth it. So, Saints Row, it's a largely successful reboot, even if it does sometimes feel dangerously outdated in terms of its open world design and graphical output. Its story and characters can be hit or miss, but the experience is carried by fun gameplay and an endearingly dumb sense of humour. Despite the new faces, Saints Row is definitely still Saints Row, just bigger and probably better. And that is our review of the brand new Saints Row. Let us know down below what you're thinking of this game and whether you're going to be picking it up when it lands on the PlayStation Store on August 23rd. Thank you everyone for watching as always, and if you want to like the video and subscribe to the channel, that really helps us out, and I'll catch you in the next one.